Hey folks, so today we will talk about the scale and the sovereign data. And so the scalability, it's a big topic for every architecture, and it's the subject of the huge manipulation because usually you have a team member or the new CTO or whatever that came to you and say the solution is not scalable and we need to rewrite everything. And if you're lucky enough and you get the Amazon guy in a team, for sure we should migrate to Lambdas, use the DynamoDB, because if you use Postgres, it's not scalable. Oh my God, and never use the relational databases because they're not able to manage the load and all other things. I have heard these stories practically for the decade. Maybe for even more than decade, because the scalability it's subjective. The scalability it's usually quite a manipulative topic, and usually all these talks about the scalability is the side effect of the bad architecture in the first place, and closed architecture mindset that you ready to protect your architecture from the changes. You believe that you create the masterpiece and you try to do the perfect architecture from the early beginning. So much easier to see the architecture that in some point of time we will rewrite the system from scratch. We will rewrite system multiple times, and the architecture should grow together with the business needs, but we should be able to answer the question in which point of time we need to rewrite everything, and how fast it will be, and what should stay, what should go. And I will be honest with you, the Postgres is not so bad database, and it scales a lot, and it could take you quite far. And even the SQLite and the local database that stay in one file, maybe it's not so bad decision. It's depend how much request you have, how big the user database you have, and where you are. So I have seen a lot of problems when the imaginary scale kill the companies and waste the millions and millions of dollars in development, and just people rewrite everything from scratch to run on some super expensive cloud provider that it's scalable, it's extremely scalable, but it's just mean that half of your revenue just go to the cloud provider. Are you ready to be this? And you need to be aware that every scalable solution actually just shift the complexity to somewhere else. So it shift the complexity from the operation of the database to the DevOps, and now you need to operate the Kubernetes cluster. Or maybe it shift completely to the cloud provider like the Amazon, but now you need to be the guru of the Amazon, know how to scale and be cost effective, and hire the people that may be not so cheap for your business. So the imaginary scalability, it's the big pain. But as I mentioned, that I'm more working on the sovereign data, and the sovereign data actually together with the decentralized pattern give us a slightly different view on the scalability, because how it's usually begin, that you have the single machine. In some point it's not enough to feed it in a single machine, then you have the distributed system, that you have some kind of a cluster of these machines. In some point you decide not to host your own cluster, and maybe even not ready to host the Kubernetes and so on. So far we go to the cloud provider that hosts these clusters and do the distribution of the computational resources himself and manage these resources and so on. It's one path. It's extremely popular, and for last of the 2 decades people are moving there. But we have slightly different pattern and slightly different architecture, that instead of building the huge databases, that are multi-tenant and store all the user data in one place and allow us to do the crazy things with this data. Maybe we could go from the concept of the big data and the huge data storages and these distributed systems to the small data and decentralized systems when every user just hold his piece of data on his own and gets the self-sovereign identity and sovereign data. And it's even more interesting that when you just have the millions and millions of the data sets that maintained by your users, and they have a possibility to choose where they host this data, or maybe they just keep them in their own devices and even use partially the computation power of their own devices, you simply don't have this problem anymore. You don't need a DynamoDB. You okay to run the data with maybe some embedded database on the user's device. That's it. So it's a different scalability pattern, that instead of the huge databases, the huge data sets, and super expensive computation power, you just distribute heavily and switch from the distributed system to the decentralized system, and via the user's devices and user's computation power, it's the part of the network that do the job. That's it. So super easy, and it's change and shift heavily how you build the systems. And to this pattern, actually the local first and the offline first solutions came with a lot of features to give you, and with the big promise that you just get completely different cost, completely different maintenance, and completely different architecture. And it doesn't mean that you have no pain, you have the different pain, and maybe you lose something quite important. That when you don't own all the data, when you don't have the access to all the data, then you're not able to run some aggregation queries and get some insights from the huge data sets. So somehow then we have a question how the data science and all those things will work. But then we could have the protocols that encourage the users to contribute to such kind of queries. Why not? And still, you're losing maybe the possibility to do the complex aggregation, or you need to go with more fair approach of doing it with the user consent and user awareness, how this data are used. But it's completely different scale pattern. So you scale not with the distributed system, you scale with the decentralized system, with the utilization of somebody else, maybe computation power. So that's it. So think about it. Maybe you will change your mind how you build your systems. Subscribe to our channels, follow me on Medium, follow me on Nostr, and you could see this video on the PeerTube and all other decentralized platforms. I will be happy to talk with you there, and have a nice day. Cheers.